Hey, what's up everyone, it's your girl Brain Shanae, and today I'll be sharing with you my mid-month wrap-up for August, so please stay tuned. And I am back, and also if you are new to my channel, welcome. So like I said before, I'm going to be doing my mid-month wrap-up because I feel like I'm going to have tons of books that I read hopefully by the end of this month, and I don't want to do that whole long video for you guys. I know long videos can be crazy, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and do my mid-month wrap up so far for August. So the first three I read so far, a total of 5 books. I'm in the middle of reading my 6th book for the month, but the first 3, they're children's books I have read to my children recently, and they really have enjoyed them so far. So I finally read this book to my kids, Antiracist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi, and illustration by Ashley Kosofsky. Hopefully I'm saying their names right. I don't want to slaughter their names. But yes, I finally read this to my kids, and they were just enthralled with it, about anti-racist baby. My daughter was even asking me questions about why is the world this way, why people treat people differently based on the color of their skin, what have you. She was very intrigued with it, and she really asked questions. She was just interacting with me, which I really loved. My 3-year-old son, he was just like, oh, pretty pictures, oh, a baby. So he really wasn't interacting as much, but he liked the pictures. My daughter, she's 6 years old, and she was just enthralled with this as well. So she really enjoyed the message of what it was about being kind to others regardless of the color of your skin, you know, what race this is, and she wanted to get into more deeper conversations, but I'm like, you're not ready for that just yet. Just a couple more years, and we'll get into it. Like, we'll get into even more deeper conversation when she is ready for it. She knows the gist of things, you know, about the police, stuff like that, and you know how she is Black in America, and you know what she will face. Me and her dad have talked to her about that, and her brother, even though her brother didn't really, his head was still in the clouds. But we will have that we'll have a deeper discussion with her, and also with him once he understands certain things, especially since he is a Black boy in America who will be a Black man. And then my daughter will be a Black woman in America, which is still not great either, you know? So yes, they really love this book. So I rate this a 5 stars because they really interacted with this book really well. Next book, I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5, maybe a 5 out of 5. I don't really remember on what I had put on Goodreads, but it's Lemonade Sky by J.H. Lowe. It was a little bit weird for me. It reminded me of sort of like the Labyrinth with some of the like animals and stuff that they have in this book, but mostly it was about being alone and things like that, and coming to your own as far as stuff like that. And he wanted to fly. He just had he had imaginations, and like one said, what would it feel like to fly in the lemonade sky and be truly free? So it was about freedom and having that ability to just be free. I do love the pictures. It was very colorful. Like this right here reminded me of the Labyrinth with David Bowie in it. I just loved it, and the kids loved the pictures. So I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't remember, but they really liked this book. And then I read this book to my kids last night, and they loved it. It is Moses, When Harriet Tubman Led Her People to Freedom. This is by Carol Boston Weatherford and illustrated by Kadir Nelson. And they really they looked at the cover. They were like, "Oh, I want to read this tonight." So I read this to them last night, and they got to know more about Harriet Tubman, how God spoke to her about, you know, becoming free, and then helping her family when she got settled and established, and that he would steer her no wrong. He will lead her to freedom and her family. And I just loved, like, you can see some of the pictures, but I really loved the scenery. I loved how they were explaining about Harriet Tubman, how they called her Moses, how she settled in Philadelphia and then went to Canada, which they called Canaan land. So yeah, my kids really enjoyed this, and I even enjoyed it myself. So we'll definitely be reading this a lot more. Definitely a 5 out of 5 stars for this book right here. So I read this last night to the kids. And then we get into the young adult books I have read. So I had read the Gilded ones by Namina Forna. This is a great book. It's pretty much, you know, West African influence. The main character's name is Decca. And she's pretty much, she lives in this tribe where in order for her to become pure, they have to do a blood test, like a blood, I forget, a ritual where they check her blood, like cut her and see if she bleeds red. But she doesn't bleed red, she bleeds gold. And that's when they pretty much, like, it gets gruesome. So there's trigger warnings where they like dismember her and all this other stuff, like cut her head off, her father stabs her, and it's just, it is what it is. And so she becomes part of this army where they, where it's just like her, I really forget what they're called, to be honest, because I really read this earlier this month and I'm trying to remember, what the girls were. They were, pretty much a tribe of girls. I think they were called, oh my goodness, I don't remember what the tribe was called for the girls, because I'm like, what is it? I don't remember, but it was insane. They pretty much were gathered in order to kill the Death Shrieks, which was pretty much ruining villages and killing people. But at the same time, they were only doing that to protect themselves and what have you. And Decca eventually finds out that she's also a Death Shriek. So it was really interesting. But these girls, they have powers where they're not able to die. They have like first deaths, second deaths, and then final deaths, but they come back to life. So literally it was very, very interesting, very impactful. I'm trying to remember the tribe because I'm really like, now it's like grinding my gears, because the Aleki, right, that's what they consider her, since she was bleeding gold, the Aleki. So since she was bleeding gold, they, and stuff like that, they consider her a demon, a monster. They didn't consider her human or pure. They consider that impure. So she became an Aleki for the emperor. And she realized that she was more powerful than any of the other Aleki, because she was able to talk to the Death Shrieks and pretty much have them stop in their tracks, and the Aleki can attack them. But there is also a little love interest in here that I really did enjoy, really loved very much. I know some people had differences with this book as far as like the boys, and I know for the first boy in here, I thought he was like white because he had like blue, I forget how like blonde hair and stuff like that. So it was a little bit weird at the beginning, but then I really, really enjoyed it. I love the pace of the book. I cannot wait to read the second book next year when it comes out, because it is really good. And we got to know more about her mother, and that's how she was Aleki, because her mother was, and who her real father was, and stuff like that. We're learning a lot of things about that. So it's really interesting. I really did enjoy it. 5 out of 5 stars for the Gilded ones by Namina Forna. Like I said, loved it so much. I love the action. I love Aleki, or Decca, having her best friends together, and they become this powerful force to, you know, have better combat against the Death Shrieks, but also knowing more about the past gods and why they were no longer worshipped, and that was because of the Emperor himself. And the Emperor eventually was trying to pretty much destroy the Aleki after the Aleki was pretty much destroying themselves. Got that? I don't think you missed it. The Aleki is the Death Shrieks, but their final death, they turn into Death Shrieks. They turned into like these monsters. So they were originally Aleki, and then the final death, they turn into Death Shrieks. We didn't find this out until later on, maybe through like towards the very end of the book, and it's just very interesting. And so when the Emperor knew about this, I think the Emperor already knew that the Aleki were Death Shrieks, but they didn't tell Decca and the other Aleki about this until they figured out themselves. And then eventually the Emperor just wanted to destroy the Aleki and the Death Shrieks all at the same time. It's just insane. So they were able to pretty much end with end the Emperor and everything else, but now they're trying to recreate the world into a better place, a better living situation for the Death Shrieks. Let the Emperor, their empire, know that Death Shrieks are no harm to nobody, and they originally are Aleki, and Aleki are not demons, and they, stuff like that. So it's really interesting. So I'm thinking in the next book we'll know more about, or we'll read more about how they're going to rebuild the empire, and if people are going to just go along with the flow. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for this one right here. Next one, I'm listening to this on audiobook. I finally got through this baby. I started reading this last year and I got really discouraged, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should do audiobook. So I read it, I listened to an audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely want to listen to audiobook for the third book for the Akatar series. So I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and yeah, it definitely was a lot steamy. A lot of people said this, a lot of people consider this one of their favorite books out of the series. And yeah, there were a lot of scenes that was very steamy. And as you can see, it was this big. So I was like at 1.7 speed on Audible when I was listening to it. I know people like 2 point something, 3 point, it's crazy. But I really enjoyed listening to it. Now, when I read it, it's just so big. And like literally I'll be reading A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight audiobook. And also for this one, A Court of Silver Flames. That's a chunker too that I'll be listening to for audio on Audible. But I really did enjoy this. It's definitely, out of the first book, this is definitely my favorite, but I'm gonna still continue on with the series. I know some people have some issues with Sarah J Maas, but it's been on my shelves. I want to see what the read was about this book, and I really did enjoy it. So I'm gonna continue on reading some more of Sarah J Maas. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for this one. And like, my husband listened to a snippet of it on one of those like steamy scenes, and he was like, what and I'm like, yeah, it was definitely steamy. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Oh man. Next book, I won't be telling you what I rated this because I'm going to do my own separate review about this. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that. And in order to stay tuned, you can just hit that bell right there where you'll be notified when I upload more videos, and even when I upload the my review for Beast of Prey by Ayana Gray. So definitely stay tuned for that. But this book comes out on September 28th. So if you haven't pre-ordered it, I suggest you do so because you're missing out, because this is really good. Let me just say it is pumped with Pan-African influence. But that is it, you guys. That is my mid-month wrap-up. I've read a total of 6 books, 3 children's books, and 3 YA books. I'm in the middle of reading another YA book. So I'm definitely getting into that because the 3rd book comes out of the duology, or excuse me, not duology, the series or whatever, the series of that, pretty much. So stay tuned for more for that. I'm not gonna let y'all know what that is unless you've seen my other videos where I did my vlog, which will probably be up tomorrow, and you'll probably see this a couple days later. Just a FYI, so you probably will know the book that I'm currently reading right now anyway. So it is what it is. But I really hope you enjoyed this mid-month wrap-up. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Like I said, also hit the subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching, you guys, and please stay healthy and stay safe. See ya.